Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hi. How are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and this is Chatting on the Porch, a fun little thing we do throughout the week, or sometimes on the weekends, or whenever we can get a guest to stop by. And we get together, we talk about things going on in the world. We find interesting folks to bring to your attention, bringing you news and information that we think is helpful to you in your personal and professional lives, or just because you're nosy and you want to know. And we go get somebody that really knows what the heck they're talking about. And boy, have we got that kind of guest tonight. So strap in, folks. If you want to know what's going on in the economy, I got you a guest that'll definitely get you going. So, had a little bit of technical difficulties in the background. We think that the Ukrainians kind of hacked our system here. We're a little worried about that, as you might expect, but we will shoulder through and struggle on, and we did make it. And thank you for your graciousness as always, to my host and to my guest, and all the assistance given one way or another. So with that, we're going to dive in with a few memes real quick, as we are wont to do on this channel. Now, the other day, well, hang on, let me say some hellos. Let's see who all's here so far. Well, we know WWG1's hanging around. We know TBA is in the house. Gentlemen, good evening to you both. Oh, hello, good night, mister. Good to have you here with us. It's been a long time, brother. Seen you floating around on Twitter. Good to have you here, sir, and a fist bump in your general direction. Let's see who else is in the house so far. Yada, yada, yada. Gypsy is here. And good evening, my dear. Glad to have you in the house. And anybody else showing up? Well, they'll get here. Salty Old Fart is in the house. He's on the Rumble side. Good to have you here, sir. Yes, the interzones have been very wonky today. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that completely. All right. Now, the other day we were talking on the live stream about the No Kings rally, or protest, depending upon which way you want to look at it, around the country. And we had said that, contrary to popular opinion, there were not 7 million people showing up to let their outrage be known. However, I may have to revise that opinion on the basis of visual information that I have been given. Look, these crowds may have been bigger than I first realized. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but this one was recently reported. And I'll tell you what, they may be onto something here, man. They may have had more people at these rallies than any of us ever realized. So, my gosh, look at that crowd. Just totally amazing. I didn't know they were having a re-showing of Gone with the Wind. That's kind of interesting. So, but yeah, look at the size of that crowd on October 18th, 2025. They may be absolutely right. There may have been more people there than we ever realized. So I may have to step back from my opinion on this one. So you know how it goes. Anyway, what else do we have going on? Well, I tell you, the Democrats are absolutely losing their minds in one form or another. And as you might very well expect, that they are a wont to do. And they're just all awful about this whole east wing of the White House ballroom that Trump is putting in, privately paid for, by the way. There's no tax dollars involved with it. But, the sight of, a crane going and, demolishing part of the White House is just making all these people just even more upset than they already are. Well, now we've discovered that not only is Trump putting in a ballroom at no cost to the taxpayers, by the way, but we've also gotten our hands on some of the architectural plans for what else is going in. And this is rather amazing to me. Did you know that apparently just off of the ballroom, they're putting in a room just for meme makers? Now, I guess this sort of assumes that, conservative or populist people are going to be occupying the White House for the foregoing future if you're putting in a meme room, because the left cannot meme. So if you put a meme room in and a Democrat gets elected, that room's really going to be kind of wasted. But apparently, in the Trump White House, they're making room for folks who like to meme. They're giving them their own separate space just off the new ballroom that's being put in the east wing of the White House. I think that's kind of cool, frankly. I think that's a good thing. And now there is, however, a certain amount of irony in all this protest that's going on about the construction work that's going on at the White House. And you know what? Some memes just speak for themselves. I think this is one of them. So let me get this straight. Y'all out there complaining about Trump remodeling the White House, all those statues that got taken down for all those years, and y'all didn't say one single solitary word about it. Okay. Something to consider. Oh, boy. Yeah. All right. What else do we? Oh. Halloween at the White House. Yeah, a lot of people have given politicians a lot of grief over the years about how they celebrate certain holidays. I mean, for example, Biden got all kinds of grief for letting the transgenders on the lawn of the White House on Easter. Okay, probably deserved. But people, depending on their politics, will get mad at politicians about how they celebrate certain holidays. Well, such is the case with the upcoming holiday of Halloween, particularly now that Donald Trump is back in the White House, because apparently Trump has found what he wants to dread. Whoa. Wait a minute, I'm not ready for that yet. Trump apparently has figured out what he wants to dress up as for Halloween, and he actually, I guess, well, we got video. He showed it off to some of his staff. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a good look for Trump? I don't know. I mean, apparently there's a video goes with this. Let's check this out. So there's Trump dressed up, I guess, as a Godzilla wannabe. Let's see what this is all about. Hang on a second, folks. Okay, look, folks, I know that Donald Trump has a flair for the dramatic, but even by Donald Trump standards, that one's a little over the top. Hey, DJT, take it down a notch. Just saying. But Trump's not the only person that's getting ready for Halloween. Apparently, there are other famous or infamous people who are getting ready for the upcoming holiday. Matter of fact, up in Chappaqua, New York, there's a very important question that is being asked by many, many different people, and it goes like this. Does Hillary, put out her own holiday decorations, or do they just sort of take care of themselves? Again, one of those great great messages that we'll never quite know. We'll never quite know the answer to. That hat really looks appropriate on that woman's head, and I have no idea why. No idea. Anyway. Oh, by the way, Trump, that Godzilla costume apparently was his final choice among different options. There was another idea that he had for what to dress up as for Halloween, but I think for whatever reason he kind of backed off of it, went with the Godzilla costume. Apparently the other thing he was planning to dress up as on Halloween was Father Mirren from the Exorcist movies. I don't know. I'm not sure why he would have backed off of this one, because in some cases this is completely apropos. I mean, I'm just saying, and look at that. I mean, he looks just like Father Mirren, holding up a very important book. Demons come flying out of a young girl. Personally, I think this would have worked, but what are you gonna do? He went with Godzilla. Anyway. All right, a couple more, then we're going to get down to our guest. People ask me all the time, Front Porch, for all these people who aren't necessarily political, what do you think that the Donald Trump presidency is like for them? I mean, if you had to sum it up for people who aren't necessarily political, the normie in the world, how do they view the Trump president? How do they view the Democrat reaction? How do they view everything that's going on? Well, somebody came up with a really good way to explain it, and it goes something like this. Imagine if you're on a roller coaster ride. Yeah. Yep. There's your best MAGA friend, and there you are. So, I really can't say that this one's wrong. Call me crazy. All right, one more. We're going to get down to business. The Democrats, as always, in the middle of a government shutdown, they're always trying to find some way to stay relevant, some way to stay in the public eye. And you know what? I got to tell you the truth. Donald Trump is doing more to help the Democrats stay relevant than could be possibly imagined. However, I don't think they're staying relevant necessarily for all the reasons that you might otherwise think. As a matter of fact, we had some Democrat sightings recently. Check this out.
It's Dollar Store Obama. It's Dollar Store Obama. Hockey Mestos, Osito, Los Tacos, Burritos. Closing the government down, cost of wanting pendejo. Hates Americans, loves illegals. Hates Americans, loves illegals. Democrat way, we always pay. Government's closed, no dinero. Democrats need illegals to get their way. Americans no longer will pay. It's a Dollar Store Obama. It's a Dollar Store Obama. Dollar Store Obama. Dollar Store Obama.
I don't know if Hakeem Jeffries is ever going to wind up being a political figure higher than what he is right now. But I'll tell you what, whatever happens with Hakeem Jeffries, he might very well go down in history as the most memed individual outside of the Clintons, the Obamas, or Joe Biden himself. I'm telling you what, the dude is on his way to political history making. It's absolutely true. All right, let's get down to it. My guest is backstage very graciously putting up with our nonsense, and I think she's laughing at us. Well, she might be laughing at the memes, or she might be laughing at us, or might be laughing at both. Who knows? But anyway, she is a frequent guest here on the Electronic Front Porch, and when it comes to all matters economic, I definitely will look to her and say, hey, what do you think is going on with this? She has appeared on, quite frankly, many other different podcasts. She has her own form of social media, and most importantly, she is an educator to those willing to listen. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome a dear friend of the Electronic Front Porch, Professor of Economics at Marshall University, Dr. Robin McCutcheon. Dr. Mac, welcome back to Electronic Front Porch.
Thank you so much, friend. Those memes were great. I'm letting it go.
The OG wingnuts, as we love to call them over on Rumble, have a unique sense of humor. Some people would call it warped. I'm not going to be quite so rude as to do that. But yeah, they absolutely are something else. How you been? It's been a little while since we've had you on here.
It's been a while. Are you hearing an echo? I'm echoing.
Not on my side of it. Hang on. Let me see if there's something I can do on my side. Maybe that's me. No, I've got my echo cancellation on. So
my echo cancellation is on too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Maybe I need earbuds.
Might be a good idea. Might be a good idea. Okay.
Right back.
All right. Do. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, she's working on it.
So that didn't work. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm still getting an echo. Hold on.
Say something.
Okay, now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
1 second.
Okay. In that little exchange, folks, was there still an echo? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, still an echo. I person, hold on.
See, this is how it's still echoing. Okay. Maybe it's on my side somehow. All right, I'm going to speak for a moment. Does anyone hear the echo from my side of it?
This should be good. Headphones. Try that. All right. Give it a shot.
Okay, let's try it again.
Hold on. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And there's no echo.
All right.
This is hold on. I'm still getting in my earbuds. Wait a minute.
Okay. Still echoing. Okay, so says the pit crew. And hello to our friends in Cincinnati.
All right. Let's see if that works.
Okay.
Nope. Still got it echo. I don't know what we're gonna do. Any suggestions?
I am not sure.
And it's probably from my side.
Yeah,
because I'm echoing over here.
Yeah, because they're not hearing me echo at all.
No, but they're hearing me echo.
Yeah. Crud.
Hey, tech.
Hey, tech guy.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out if
Well,
there's
maybe I could just slow. Then I'll drive your audience mad.
Oh, that's all right. We're all crazy anyway, so.
Wait a second.
Yeah, now see, that's a good perspective to take on this. That's absolutely a good perspective to take on this.
It's so important. I need to voice. Oh my goodness.
Oh dear.
I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I don't have any idea.
I don't either. Well, rats. Doggone it.
What?
Let me see if that helps in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Still echoing.
Turn off your camera.
All right.
Well, folks, as we are working these things out, I'm going to go ahead and give you some idea of some of the topics we're going to get into this evening. Once we get the microphone issues straightened out. One of the things I wanted to talk about or get into a discussion with Robin about was the question of inflation. We'll also be discussing, price of gold, which is absolutely going right through the roof. Tariffs and, the Fed, more particularly Jerome Powell, which, believe me, no one has any great love for right now. So, yeah, we're straightening some of this out. So, while we do, tell me what's going on in your area economically. We might be getting to that point. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So, I can. Oh yeah, I can hear the echo on Robin's end of it coming through. Let me make sure something else. Okay, that's killed on my side. So what have you guys been up to today? You been having a good day? Not so good day?
This is awful.
Oh, yes, the government shut down. Oh, there was one piece of news we can talk about that came out late in the afternoon, and while we're waiting to get some of the microphone issues straightened out. Okay, they've stepped out for a moment. So while they're doing that, have you guys seen this story? Let me find it real fast. Oh, come on, where is it? I just saw this thing a minute ago. Oh, yeah, here it is. Talk about something that's going to absolutely make you mad. At least it does to me. Late this evening, the Trump administration has decided to sanction 2 different Russian oil companies as the peace talks stall. This is an article by Brett Samuels and Laura Kelly. And the Trump administration on Wednesday announced fresh sanctions on major Russian oil companies as efforts to end the war in Ukraine have stalled. The Treasury Department said it was hitting Russia's 2 largest oil companies, Open Joint Stock Company, Rosneft Oil Company, and Lukoil, OAO, with sanctions. The move is part of an effort to increase pressure on Moscow to end the war, which began in 2022 when Russian forces invaded Ukraine. Now's the time to stop the killing and for an immediate ceasefire, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in a statement. Given President Putin's refusal to end the senseless war, Treasury is sanctioning Russia's 2 largest oil companies that fund the Kremlin's war machine, Bessent said. Treasury is prepared to take further action, if necessary, to support President Trump's efforts to end yet another war. We encourage our allies to join us and adhere to these sanctions. All right. While we're waiting for Robin to step back in, let's talk about this for a second. Under normal circumstances, hang on. Let's see what we got. Hey, Doc.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can. And I still have an echo.
Oh, bless your all's hearts. Would it help at all to turn the speakers off, or would that just give you no ability to hear it through the headphones?
I don't know. One second.
Okay. Anyway, while they're working that out on their side, normally I would give Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, a lot of credit because he's a very smart guy. This is one of those moments he needs to stay in his own lane. Okay? This is dumb. What he's doing right now is absolutely dumb, and so is the Trump administration. The issue right now is, and
okay. What the text says, it's got to be on your end because my speakers are not on. And
okay.
I've got the earbuds plugged in.
Okay, hang on. Then let me try.
On your end.
Okay, then let me try some things. One moment, please. I turned off. Earbuds are plugged in and no speakers. Okay, then it's got to be on my side. Okay, hang on, folks. Let me see what I can do here. All right, all right, hang on. We're working on it.
To get ours to work, we had to X all the way out.
Yeah, but that was something we really have to do because
no.
We gave you earbuds for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. All right, can everybody hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is there still an echo coming through?
Yes. Yes.
Ugh. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm trying a different form of the microphone.
Yes. Yes. I can hear you.
Is there still an echo coming through?
Yes. Yes.
Ugh. Okay. That's not it. Then why is this thing doing this? Hang on, folks. I'm going to step out for now. Okay, there's still an echo coming through. That's what the audience is saying. Output device, sound system. I don't know what this is. Yeah, TBA. Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Folks, I'm sorry about this. I'm trying to figure out what this is on my end. Reset sounds and volumes to the recommended. All right, let's try that. Okay, question. Can you hear me on your side?
Yes, I can hear you.
Still an echo?
Still an echo.
Oh, I do not get this. All right, let's try it. Can you hear me now? Is there still an echo?
Let's see. Yes, still an echo.
So it's not that. Can you hear me?
Yes. Ooh, no echo.
Okay, we might be in business.
Ooh, you did it, Brian.
Well, I pushed a button. That's about all I did.
You pushed a button.
Okay. All right.
I swear to God, Mercury's in retrograde.
No, I'm just blaming the Ukrainians. That's just okay. So to our audience, is there an echo? Yes or no? Give me a yeah, it probably was. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Now that we've gotten through these issues, all right, there's no echo. Praise God. Okay.
We should run the memes again just to get us back into, some jovial mood.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Well, since I'm going to see how this works. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
All right. Goodbye. Goodbye, earphones. Okay.
Don't throw them out.
Okay. Now I'm holding them off to the side. Okay.
Maybe I should get rid of mine.
Give it a shot.
No,
Let's see. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe just we won't mess with that.
Okay. Fair enough. All right.
Okay.
I was getting ready to say it's been a long time since you've been on here, and after tonight, it may be even longer before you. Like, oh
Well,
gosh.
we can rerun this one, to make up for time. It's okay, Brian. I mean, you've been very, very gracious and very patient, and I'm sure those brand new squirrels of yours are running like mad.
Yeah, the new computer's doing fine. The operator's the issue. So I mean, that's all I have to tell you about that.
That's usually my problem. Is I don't know how computers work. I only drive them.
Yeah, that's pretty much my whole situation. So, all right, how have you
All
been?
right.
It's been, like I said, it's been a while since you've been here. So how you been?
Been good. We've been incredibly busy. We're I think we're 10 and a half weeks into the semester, so I can just barely see the end of it. And trust me, it's not going to come a minute too soon.
Oh yeah, I remember those days as an undergraduate. Believe me, about this time of the year, I'm start thinking, how many more weeks have I got till Thanksgiving? It's like, yeah, okay, I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
Yeah, we're
But
counting the days.
indeed. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So I tell you what, we'll just jump right in. And there were about 4 big topics that I wanted to get your take on because there are certain things that are happening. Let me give you the perspective, or at least my perception of what's happening right now. And you tell me if I'm wrong and tell me how all this factors in. When Donald Trump got reelected, everybody was expecting the days of wine and roses to come in. Well, right now we've got more like what I call slow grade Alka-Seltzer. It's kind of like, there's a lot of plop plop and fizz fizz, but I don't know if we're getting the relief that there is. Now, and part of this, there's certain things are happening. Gas prices are coming down, but a lot of people sort of perceive I don't see inflation getting better. So are we all wrong in our perception? Or I mean, what the heck is going on with inflation? Because the good news is gas prices are starting to drop, which, I'll let you speak to why that's happening. But the other part of it is people looking at it going, yeah, but why aren't the other things kind of coming down with it? So with that, I'll give you the floor.
Well, first of all, it's really tough to tell, at least from my perspective, where we are with respect to inflation because government shut down. So we're not getting any government numbers. Not that I was trusting them very much anyway. But gas prices coming down will have a ripple effect across the economy because everything that we get at the store comes by truck eventually. Right. So as the gas prices drop, prices at the store should drop. There are a couple of things going on sort of intertwined with this that, so for example, I've heard egg prices are going down. They are, but remember in the last, in 2024, the Biden administration had 100 million egg-laying hens killed off.
True.
For avian flu. We have a crop, or we had a crop of about a billion egg-laying hens. So you kill off 10% of them, more or less. And the number of egg-laying hens aren't going to lay so many eggs, so prices go up. Now, it takes about 6 months to grow an egg-laying hen from the egg to a pullet to the full chicken. So as farmers repopulate their chicken populations, the egg prices should start coming down. And I've noticed that egg prices are coming down.
Okay.
I know there's a big hullabaloo about Argentinian beef. And President Trump made a deal with the Argentinians to buy their beef. And part of this is that President Trump is helping Argentina's farmers to sell more product overseas. We're going to tax it, tariff it. But we have a problem here in the United States that our beef herds were called off too, because we've had 3 or 4 years of bad weather. So too hot, too cold, too wet, not enough grain. So beef growing cattle farmers called off their herds. which back in the day gave us cheaper beef, but it takes 2 to 3 years to grow a cow into something that you're going to slaughter.
Right.
We're not there yet. So, and we have a huge problem with regulations in the cattle industry from the farmer to the processing plant. And so those regulations need to be readjusted, or something needs to happen in that area to make it easier for cattlemen, farmers, to get their cows into processing plants and then onto store shelves. So from my perspective, the reason that President Trump is helping Argentina is because he's helping them get out from underneath their deep state tentacles, just like he's helping a lot of other countries around the world creep out from underneath of their deep states. So what we're seeing on the surface, what looks like a lot of bullshit, no pun intended, what seems like a lot of crap is that President Trump is helping a lot of other countries around the world get out from underneath of their deep state so they can become free too. And so we're going to take this and we're going to intertwine it into what's happening around the world with gold and silver prices, and what's happening around the world with central banks. So prices will come down as we produce and refine, as we bring the crude out of the ground and refine it into gasoline and diesel. Those prices will come down. Now, I've heard gasoline prices are under $2 in some areas of the country, but I drove down Fifth Avenue today and the price was $3.
Yep.
I mean, it's not as bad as $4, but you know, if we could just shave another $1 off the top of the gas prices, that would go a long way towards helping everyone. So I cannot tell you that inflation is coming down or going up because I don't have any government figures that I would trust. So the only thing I can trust are the things that I can see with my own eyeballs. So where you have people that you know around the country, it's good to check in with them from time to time to see what's happening price-wise in their area. So when I talk with my kids who are down in Alabama or out in Virginia, or my, you know, other people around the family around the country, I'm always asking what prices are, because I don't trust that the prices I'm getting, the inflation numbers I'm getting from either the Federal Reserve or from the government Bureau of Labor Statistics. I'm not trusting any of those numbers. I haven't trusted them from the whole time Biden was in office. And I'm not sure how much I trust them even now.
Oh, very true. And some folks in the audience are already dropping in numbers. Goodnight, Mister says that in his area it's like $2.76 a gallon. Cool. The pit crew in Cincinnati is saying it ranges anywhere from like $2.99 to $3.19. I totally agree with this, AH. Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with this. But yeah, if for you folks in the audience, if you don't mind, let us know. Let us hear what gas prices are in your area. That kind of and Dr. McCutcheon's got a point. We don't have any government statistics because the government's not open right now, which on a side note, I gotta ask you about this. There's an old joke that says, if a tree falls on, let's see.
If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one here, and you're not there to hear it, did it make any sound?
No. The joke is, if a tree falls on a mime in the woods, would anyone care?
Okay. The answer is no.
No, the answer is no. Well, you know, if a government shuts down in America, does anybody really care? And yeah, because I want to get your reaction to this, because we're like 3 weeks into a government shutdown right now.
Right.
And nobody really seems to, no one's really kicking up a fit about this.
And that's the point. That's the point, Brian. the longer the government stays shut down, the more people see they didn't need that big of a government in the first place.
Yep.
Right. And so I'm really crossing my fingers that President Trump takes this shutdown out 61 days so he can actually continue cannibalizing what's left of the federal system, getting rid of a lot of those agencies and people. And I think I said way back in February on your show, or whenever I was on your show early in the year, I think I said that my hope was that President Trump would carve 90% of the government away from what it is right now. And so we'd only have 10% of the government. Now, okay, maybe he only carves away 80%. We don't need 3 million people working in our federal government. That's just a lot of fat and waste. And so when you think about it, what else has he done? He's instituted tariffs around the world. So we've got billions of dollars coming in. Well, you could support a government on tariffs if the size of the government was much, much smaller.
Yep.
Right. So the other thing that he did, and I think I've said it on your show many times, that President Trump put the Federal Reserve under the umbrella of the U.S. Treasury at the end of February 2020. So he's already wrapped. So the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation, has essentially been bankrupted and put underneath the umbrella of the U.S. Treasury, so that the Treasury Secretary, Bessent, he's actually the one running the Fed, which is why President Trump keeps talking about that stiff, too late Powell over at the Federal Reserve, because we don't need the Federal Reserve. As the government gets smaller and smaller and smaller, all those tariffs coming in will pay for what we really do need, not what we don't need. And so President Trump, like I said, I'm hoping he takes this shutdown. Well, and the Democrats are helping, right? Because every time they bring up a floor vote, the Democrats say no. And then they turn around and blame it on the Republicans. It's their fault because they won't cave to our demands. And so as President Trump shrinks the government and as the tariffs come in to pay for it, what we're going to start seeing is more and more calls for the Internal Revenue Service to go away, because they won't need our tax money. Right. And so if you think about, so we're going to have lower gas prices, our eggs and cheese and beef and our food prices are going to start coming down too, because as gas prices come down, the food prices come down. Imagine what you would do with the 30% or 40% of your wages that stay with you because they're not going to the government.
Yeah, that's
right?
I have always said the biggest mistake the Democrats could ever make is to actually let a government shutdown take place, and particularly if it is a long, winding government shutdown in a long period of time. Okay,
right.
It is.
Well, they have their hostages, right? The November 1st is coming up, and from what I hear, so just rumors, really. I'm not sure how true it is. So, but I'm going to take it as true and assume the rumors are right. I heard that EBT and SNAP programs are going to shut down on November 1st. And so the people who are receiving those benefits are now the hostages that the Democrats will use to clobber over the Republicans' head and try and make the Republicans bend. But President Trump has already said, I'm not bending. We're not negotiating with terrorists, which is essentially what they are if they're holding the American people hostage. So, so that's another little twist in this, messed up ball of yarn. So let me go back to President Trump helping the Argentinians and helping other people around the world to escape out from underneath of their deep states. Well, this deep state that we're talking about has tentacles literally all over the world in every country. Yep. And the way they keep control of a country is first they have a central bank, which is private, which loans the government money, which can never be paid back, because every time They loan the government $1. The government has to pay it back plus interest. Well, where do they get the interest? They have to borrow it. So it's a continual life cycle of debt slavery. So that's the first thing. They have a central bank that is privately owned. The second thing is they own the military. The military is the enforcement arm, at least in our country and probably around the world. It's the enforcement arm of the Federal Reserve. Well, haven't we been seeing some changes in our military?
Yep.
Admirals and generals being retired because maybe they don't agree with the current administration, or maybe they're too fat and can't fit in their uniform.
Yep.
Or maybe they're disagree with the non-DEI policies. And so what we're beginning to see, what we will see as we roll through this over the next, couple of months or so, is we're going to see that the Federal Reserve is losing power. They've already lost it as far as I'm concerned. They're going to be mothballed. People are going to see that they're getting more money in their paycheck without even having gotten a wage raise, because more money will be coming back from lower prices. And as soon as the IRS is abolished, they'll be keeping their own taxes. Wait till you see how fast they go, that the people go after state governments to get rid of state income taxes. And the state of Florida is already proposing abolishing property taxes so that you really truly will own your house. You're not going to be renting it from the government. Now think about all these things that are, all of these intertwined things. As we unroll all of these debt slavery, property tax slavery, as we get rid of them and peel them away, people become more and more aware of just how enslaved they've been. That's the only way I can say it. Well, it's not just happening in our country, it's happening around the world. Now, there are some countries like the European Union that's been a little slower to wake up to the fact that they've just been complete and total slaves since the end of World War II. So this is happening all around the world. The stuff that we see happening in the United States with the No Kings rally, that's really just a euphemism for a color revolution, because all of these people, I'm going to pick on George Soros, but it's not just George Soros. It's the Rockefellers, it's Arabella Advisors, it's large companies, hedge funds that are run by billionaires that are funding these protests in order to stoke a revolution, in order to stoke a civil war in our country. Haven't you noticed that President Trump keeps saying, well, I can enact the Insurrection Act of 1807, because it's against the law to make insurrection against the U.S. government. And he keeps threatening Portland and Chicago and New York and all of these big cities. If you don't start following the law, I will enact the Insurrection Act. And then I'll go after your mayors and your governors and your city council for not following the law. What he's doing, if you've noticed, is we already know that the National Guard is in a lot of cities around the country. He's pre-positioning the military to be in the places where these uprisings could occur.
Yep.
Or are being stoked to occur. So again, I keep saying it's a messed up ball of yarn. You pull on one thread and the ball starts knotting up over on the other side. And there's a lot of moving parts to this whole story. But when you control the money, and the U.S. Treasury will control the money. Notice how we got rid of the penny? Because it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get rid of the IRS. So when you control the money and you control the energy, you own the country. He's freeing up our production of energy. Remember how he said when he was in his first term, we're energy independent. We don't depend on any other country to produce our energy. Right. That was a bashing across the head to the deep state to say, haha, you don't control us anymore. So He's going to get rid of the Fed. He's going to get rid of the IRS. He is reinstating, as we're sitting here, the energy control back to the United States so that nobody owns us anymore. And he's ripping all of these reins away from the deep state so they can't control us either. Now ask me about gold.
And we're going to do that. And folks, that's the answer to the first question. So if you came here not thinking, oh, economics is such a dry subject, why are we talking about this? Oh, no. We're going to have fun, because all this in the end comes back to your wallet or your pocketbook. And I do have one question, and I want to point out something that was said in chat. This is from Gypsy, who's one of our regulars here. In Michigan, a pound of Kroger brand cheese is $12. A pound of chicken is $11. Just bought yesterday. So I guess here's the question I have on behalf of my audience and people who are watching this. Like a lot of things with the Trump administration, I'm thinking back to the first term. It was by year 3 when everything kicked in good. I mean, really kicked in. These changes that Trump is bringing back, going back to our own energy independence, going back to controlling our own dollar, going back to all these things, when does it kick in, do you think, for the average person, that they see it in their lives as they're living it every day?
In their own budget, and when does it kick in for their own wallet?
Yep.
Wow, that's a tough one, because my crystal ball is a little foggy on that. I have a feeling that it's going to hit different sections of the country at different times. So, for example, up in Michigan, it's far more expensive in Michigan. The cost of living is far more expensive than it is here in West Virginia. Far more. I mean, when I moved from Michigan, my auto insurance dropped by 2/3.
Wow.
2/3. So, and that's just on a car. And that's just one little area. So for Gypsy up in Detroit, and Michigan is one of those places that I think they still have a Democrat governor.
Yep.
Whitmer. And it still have a Democrat
legislature,
Secretary of State and legislature. I mean, Michigan's got kind of a tough slog ahead, because there are a lot of people. I have a feeling that Michigan is a red state, really and truly, but they have a problem with these voting machines that keep stealing the elections for Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think Michigan's got a little bit of a tough slog, perhaps a little bit tougher than, say, West Virginia, where it's really tough to steal an election for Democrats because they just don't have the numbers
anymore.
Right. Yeah. Nobody would believe it in West Virginia if a Democrat won. They just wouldn't believe it.
And the irony of that
is, and then they'd probably go lynch him.
And the irony.
I didn't say that.
No, I know what you're saying. No, but the irony of that is 25 years ago, you couldn't find a Republican in this state in any elected office. That's the irony of it to me.
Yeah.
But all right, let's
so different areas of the country are going to see this return of money in their wallet at different periods of time. But President Trump keeps promising us that by July 4th, Independence Day, 2026, we're all going to be celebrating. So everything that he did in the first administration is still there. We don't have to go through another 3 years to get to the boom. We're gonna get to the boom in the economy a lot faster this time around than we did with his first administration. It's because everything is there. All the infrastructure is there. He's got everybody in the place where he wants them. I don't know if you've noticed, but Doge is still working.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, it's not going to take 3 years for everything to kick in, but there's a certain amount of President Trump has told us in his rallies before he was elected in 2024, he said, we're going to get the majority of the country behind us so that when we have to do what we have to do, everyone will say, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
So he's got to have the country behind him before we can before we can see any kind of resolution to things like Jim's Comey or Brennan or, all of those people who, in my opinion, were treasonous during the Biden administration or even during Trump's first administration. We've got all of the infrastructure already in place so that an economic boom is coming. You're not going to be able to hold it back. But there are some things that some final things, in my opinion, some final pieces of the puzzle that need to move into place. And one of those definitely has to be that the IRS has to go away. It has to go away. And we're going to be returning, I think I've said it on your show before too, we're going to be returning to a gold-backed real money currency. And in July, I think it was, President Trump signed 3 bills. It was the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Stability Act. And those 3 bills, if you listen to Scott Bessent, he tells us what it did was it put the United States of America on a whole different railroad track going forward into the future. In other words, it was what we needed to remove ourselves from the Federal Reserve. It's some of the first things that needed to be in place to remove ourselves from the Federal Reserve and push us towards a U.S. Treasury that has its own gold-backed currency. And I know that Judy Shelton has said a number of times, she hasn't stopped talking about it, that she wants to have a U.S. Treasury bond that is gold-backed, a 50-year bond, where when it matures and you're paid back in gold.
Yeah.
And so all of these things, it's, I know I'm not making any sense probably, but the way I see it, it's like this huge ball of string, and we're just sort of peeling it off a little piece at a time. And all of these pieces then are going to fit together and make a nice picture. It's going to take a minute, but it's not going to take 3 years.
Okay.
And at the same time, in states around the country where they're having a difficult time with their Democrat governors and mayors and legislatures, this also provides a period of time for the citizens in those states to begin taking back their legislatures, their governor's seats, their mayor seats in their cities and towns. Because you cannot have people who are actively working to cripple the United States be in office. And people around the country are beginning to see it, like with their own eyes.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Michigan's got Michigan, Illinois, New York, California, states like that. They've got kind of a tough road to hoe, but people in those states are waking up a lot faster.
I tend to agree with that completely. And now we're going to get into the question of gold. But before we do, if you have questions for Dr. McCutcheon, please drop them in chat, be it on YouTube, on Rumble, or on Twitter. We will try to get them in throughout the show. And if you're just joining us, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm known as the Front Porch Conservative. This is Dr. Robin McCutcheon, professor of economics at Marshall University. We're talking all things micro and macroeconomic. And one of the biggest topics of interest these days is the price of gold. I think the last time you were on here, I want to say gold was running at about $3,200 an ounce. And I just pulled up Yahoo's finance website, and I'm going to pop this up on screen for everybody. Folks, take a look at this. Now, if I remember, is this gold futures contracts or?
Probably is, yeah.
Okay, gold futures contracts. An ounce is settling in at over $4,100. Okay,
hey,
now
go to, before you do anything, go to barchart.com. Type in your URL, barchart.com/futures. Barchart.com, BAR chart.com /futures /metals. You need a BAR.
Oh, bar
Bar.
chart.
BAR.
Okay,
There you go. Now hit enter.
Oh,
There you
holy
go.
cow.
Now click on that first gold link where it says gold 25.
Yeah. All right. Whoo-wee.
That first one, that's the spot price of gold.
Let me see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let me back that down a little bit. Okay. There we go.
That's the spot price of gold. Oh, wait a second. Actually,
there we go.
no, wait, go X out of that.
Okay.
And click instead on the gold December 25, the hyperlink, not that one. Go over to the right, that one. Click that one.
Got it.
Now scroll down just a bit. Now you see where it says GCY00 cash?
Yeah.
That is the spot price of gold right now, $4,089.20.
Holy cow.
Right. And so I think the last time I was on your show, it was like 32 or 3,300.
Yep.
And it wasn't that long ago I was on your show.
Yeah, it was just a few months ago.
Yeah, just a couple months. All right.
So let's get into this. What's going on?
So let's get into this. So first of all, let me sort of set the stage. And I'm going to, instead of gold, I'm going to talk about silver, because turns out silver is used far more widely in industry. And I mean, it's in our computers, it's in our cell phones, it's in our TVs, and it's in our cars, it's in defense products. And so it's more widely and far used. And at this point in time, the worldwide supply of silver is short about 250 million ounces. So in other words, the worldwide demand for silver is about 750 million ounces, and the worldwide supply of silver is about 500 million ounces. So we're short about 250 million ounces.
Okay.
In other words, we're not producing enough. So we're not producing enough, which means that when supply is curtailed, the price goes up, right?
Right.
If you don't have enough supply, the price goes up. So let me just read to you. I've been sort of scanning the waves, the interwebs, to find out what the hell is going on out there with silver.
Okay.
And this is from David Jensen, who's out in British Columbia. He's a gold and silver mine expert. And he says, we're in the midst of a global shortage of available physical silver, with increasing demand worldwide for this monetary investment safe haven and strategic metal. India restricted imports of silver September 24th, so a month ago.
Okay.
And out in India, not only did they restrict the import of silver, but they are no longer selling silver ETFs, because every time you sell a silver ETF, you have to have the ounces stored somewhere. It has to be backed by silver, right? It can't be backed by nothing. The UK's Royal Mint and the Australia's Perth Mint have no silver bullion bars in stock. The Canadian Mint has no silver bars in stock. The US Mint has silver, but it's not selling it. Now hold on. Wait a second.
Okay.
The price of silver. So if you go into the bar charts, you don't have to show it on the screen, but just go in and click on one of those silver hyperlinks, and then wait for to see the spot price of silver. What you're going to see is the spot price of silver is higher than the October contract. That's called backwardation, or sometimes called contango, where the cash spot price is above the future price. Now, October 10th, just about 2 weeks ago, the London silver market, with billions of ounces of claims for silver ownership and immediate delivery in its cash spot market, seized up due to a lack of available silver bars. It seized. In fact, for 2 hours, the price of silver was unknown. The price of silver for 2 hours was unknown. Nobody could tell what the price of silver was because nobody had it to sell it.
Okay.
So he goes on to say, no liquidity in the world's largest physical silver market. That's the LBMA, the London people. Major silver refiners cannot commit to silver delivery dates. And here's one. Bullion Star says, silver supply chain breaking. Heraeus, which is a major global refinery, no longer committing to delivery dates. Existing orders, 1 to 2 month estimated delivery, mid-November to mid-December. New orders, queue position only, no delivery commitment. Simply put, they'll produce bars when they can source the metal, if they can source the metal. Major refineries can't guarantee delivery. Let that sink in. So I'm reading this. This is from October 21st. I'm reading this morning. I'm looking at the price of silver. It's right around $48 cash price. And you look at the October price, it's maybe 47. And you have to, there's a couple of futures contracts in there, like October, November, December, before it actually gets above the spot price, which means that those people, the futures prices are just paper silver. Now, remember we talked about this. I think I said on your show a while back that the paper contracts outnumber the ounces. So for every 300 paper contracts, there's 1 ounce of silver.
Jeez.
You want me to say that again? Because it's more like 1,000 paper contracts and there's 1 ounce of silver. So there's not. They've been doing this fast 3 cups and a pee thing with no pee for a long time, and they're getting caught. They're getting caught with their pants down, and they got no silver. So
people are asking for the delivery of the contract, and they got nothing to deliver to them.
And so people are demanding the physical silver, which is why the spot price is so high. They don't want to hold the contract because they're holding air. So I'm sitting on the floor this morning wondering how the hell am I going to explain this to everybody? And I'm reading this to my husband. I just read it to you. I'm reading and I'm looking at the bar charts and I'm going, the price of silver is $48. Why is it not $4,800? And he looked at me and he kind of laughed and he said, who sets the spot price of silver? And I said, well, somebody over in London at the LBMA. He goes, that's right. And he goes, so some computer jockey sitting in their jockstrap is setting the price of silver. Let's see, what will we make it today? Oh, let's make it $48. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God, the whole damn market is fake. He goes, that's right. The whole damn market is fake. Now, this guy, David Jensen, he puts out this missive yesterday. This morning, he says, to my readers, for the next few weeks, I'll be working in the field where I am happiest and will not have time and access to write posts on the gold and silver markets. I read that and I went, you're going on vacation? You're leaving us? You're not... What's going on here? And all of a sudden, nobody's talking about silver. It's the biggest story on the face of the planet. You got mints around the world that are not producing silver, and the price of silver is $48 an ounce. Kiss my ass. That's who believes this shit? Who believes this?
It's like you said, you got 300 contracts to every actual ounce of silver. Nobody wants silver. Nobody wants silver contract anymore. They don't want a paper contract. They want the actual physical silver in their hands. And now you got one of the biggest, commodities market watchers out there saying, yeah, I think I'm going to take a couple 3 weeks off.
I'm going up to the hills. I'm going to look at my mines. I'm taking my backpack, my socks, and my lead, and I'm see ya.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. So I want to know who went over, who called him up and said, David, You need to take a vacation for a couple weeks. Stop talking about silver. Shh.
That's crazy.
Right? So
Absolutely crazy.
So, I mean, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my God, the whole damn market is fake. And that's the whole point. That's what, see, I've been watching bar charts every day for months. I just, every couple of hours, I'll go in and watch it. And if you click on one of those, pick silver, pick gold, and scroll down, you'll see that some of those outlying years of contracts have a little S next to them. Mm-hmm. That means that contract is stopped. They're not trading that contract. And I noticed, let's see, this is October. I noticed back in April, like the beginning of April, the bottom contracts, like from 2027 all the way down to the bottom, which is like 2030 if it's silver or 2031 if it's gold, all those contracts were stopped for days. They weren't trading. And then maybe once a week, all of a sudden they would all light up green and all the numbers would ratchet up and then they'd stop again. Someone has an iron grip on these contracts and they're not letting them ratchet up. And then, let's see, today is Wednesday. And then on Friday, this last Friday, there was a huge tank in the gold contracts. I mean, they tanked $300. The gold was like $4,350 ish on the spot price. Yeah. And all of a sudden, whoosh, $300 down. It was, I swear to you, this morning when I got up at 4, it was the spot price of gold was sitting at $4,000. It tanked $300 plus. Now, over in the silver markets on Thursday evening, just this last Thursday, the silver markets had topped up over $54 spot price. On Friday, whoosh, it tanked almost $4. And then it went down from there. Now, again, all those outer contracts were stopped at like $3.79 down. But the spot price hit $47 and some mid change. So that spot price dropped almost $7. Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday.
That's crazy.
And none of the mints are. It'll be 8 weeks if we decide to send it at all. If we can find the metal to mint the coins or the bars or whatever it is that you've ordered. So now the point is, I have this epiphany. Oh my God, the markets are fake. And eventually everybody else is going to start going, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? These markets can't be real. Well, it took my husband going, Tonk, of course they're not real. They've never been real. They've been monkeying with this market since the LBMA was started, shortly after the United States came off the gold standard in 1971.
Right.
So these markets have been fake. People have said manipulated, but they're not manipulated. They're just fake.
Crazy.
And here's my thought. So you're going to call me crazy after this, but that's all right. I'm pretty used to it at this point. So those people who have the iron grip on the contracts, they don't want you to buy the contracts. They want you to buy the real metal. And what if somebody called up the LBMA this morning and said, dude, make the price $48 because we got a lot of people here in the United States and around the world. And it's the LBMA that sets the spot price for gold and silver for the entire world. Just make it $48 because we got a lot of people that don't have gold and silver. They don't have silver. They should go buy some, 10 ounces here, 20 ounces there. And it's really expensive at $54. So just drop the price to $48.
Okay.
Now, if you go to jmbullion.com, so J as in John, M as in Mary, bullion.com. They're a Nevada gold and silver dealer. Nevada is one of the places in the United States where there's still an awful lot of silver that we pull out of our own ground. So we're not,
Okay.
you know, we're not. So, and if you go to, there you go to the click on the great deals on sale. Now I'm not trying to advertise for them, but this is the place where I go. If you look at that 1/10 ouncer right there, upper left corner, $6.83 down from $9.33 because JM Bullion goes off what the spot price is doing. Now, if you go up to, let's see, if you go up to the banner where it says gold, silver, rare coins, click on silver. Go ahead and click on silver. Go to 1 ounce coins, silver rounds. Yep, okay. 1 ounce coins, 1 ounce silver coins, not fractional, do 1 ounce.
Okay.
Just click there. Now, you can see that their 1 ounce silver rounds range between $51 and $52 and some change. But the spot price is $48 and some change. So that's what? Was that a $4 difference?
About a $3 or $4 difference, yeah.
Yeah, but on Thursday, those coins were selling for almost 60.
That's crazy.
Right. So some computer jockey over in London gets a call Thursday night and they drop the price $7. Make sure it goes down $7. So and again, I know I'm nuts. So people around the world can buy cheap silver, hard silver, the round stuff or the bars for less money because somebody wants Americans to have gold and silver in their hand. Why? Okay. Because when the U.S. Treasury goes to gold and silver backed currency, there will be more people who will be ready for that.
Yeah.
Because if we get the more Federal Reserve notes that are printed, the less it's worth, the higher that gold price goes, right? The price of gold is the harbinger of how worthless our US Federal Reserve note is getting. We just talked a couple months ago, gold was 3,300.
Yep.
And now it's 4,000. That tells you how much the value of the Federal Reserve note has lost in just a couple of months.
Yeah.
Now, in order to get rid of that fiat currency, that value of that fiat currency has to be driven right into the dirt. It's got to be totally worthless so that people will say, this shit is worthless. We need a gold and silver backed currency. Hey, U.S. Treasury, come on, let's go. Does that make sense?
It does. It does indeed. It does.
I know that sounds crazy, but the computer jockey over in London got an iron fist on it, not letting it go very far. Better go get you some gold and silver.
And the only way to break that is for people to actually physically buy the stuff.
And for people to go, wait, you mean that market is fake? It's not just manipulated, but it's fake? And to lose total trust in it. Absolute loss of trust, completely.
And then we're going to start getting some actual real trading and actually real people can figure out, hey, this is the price based on what we're able to trade it for.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And here's my prediction, because silver is that's used in manufacturing and production and defense, over and above what people buy for jewelry and in coinage and in bullion. And we have a supply shortage of almost 250 million ounces. The price of silver is going to shoot up. It's going to probably go up percentage-wise more than gold will.
Okay.
That's my prediction. And man, I'm telling you, everybody in Brian's audience, go get you some gold and silver, or silver for sure, because gold is really pricey now.
Very true. Well, speaking of things that are pricey, and I'm really dying to get your take on how all this ties in. For months after Trump started putting tariffs on this, tariffs on that, tariff on a tariff, bacon, lettuce, and tariff. I mean, we had tariffs everywhere. And everybody was screaming to the top of their lungs, this is going to drive up inflation. This is going to drive up inflation. This is terrible. I can't believe he's being this silly. We're going to not be able to bring in, goods at a reasonable amount. It's going to drive up the cost. Well, even the vaunted Federal Reserve is now admitting it's not happening. Or they're choking on having to admit that's probably the better way to say it. But to the average person, what is tariffs doing or not doing for them as far as their basic economy? In other words, I mean, at this macro level, you got the president, the treasury secretary, and the commerce secretary, and they're all talking about we're going to tariff this country this percentage and this country this percentage. To the average person, living on Main Street, what is tariffs doing or not doing for them, and how is it affecting their wallet or their pocketbook?
Well, that's a good question. So I think when we talked about this last, I had described that the reason that most economists lost their shit over this was because they forgot the basic lesson of tariffs. And the basic lesson of tariffs, which sort of emerged out of the 1700s in Britain, was that economists back then had seen that every economy in Europe was roughly the same size. And so if Britain put a tariff on Germany for things, say, I don't know, schnitzel coming in from Germany into England, then Germany could turn around and tariff pin needles coming from Britain into Germany. And they would basically choke off each other's trade.
Okay.
But the economies were basically the same size. The difference now, and this is the lesson that economists either never learned in the first place or forgot, was that the United States economy is the biggest, widest, deepest economy in the entire world. Everybody wants to send their stuff here. And so the tariff is the cover charge for getting into the country. And the deal that President Trump is trying to work with every country is to get them to lower their tariffs for our stuff going into their country. So if Argentina wants to send us beef, then, and we're going to say, okay, we'll put a 50% tariff on your beef. Or if you take our beef and not put any tariffs on it, then we'll take your beefs and we won't put any tariffs on your beef. Does that make sense? So he's going for reciprocal tariff trade. You lower your tariffs for our stuff, we'll lower our tariffs for your stuff. Now, I think the last time we talked about it, I used the Nicaraguan sugar market as my example. Nicaragua, they produce all this raw sugar. They send 95% of their crop to the United States. When it hits the United States, it's about 2% of our entire production. So the United States puts a tariff on Nicaraguan sugar. I'm just going to make this up because I'm not sure what it is. And Nicaraguan sugar is about $8 a pound. But I don't have to buy Nicaraguan sugar. I could buy Michigan sugar. I could buy West Virginia sugar. I could buy Ohio sugar. $1 a pound. Why would I spend $8 a pound on Nicaraguan sugar when I'm a cheapskate and I just want to pay $1 a pound? So Nicaragua sends us 95% of their crop. It comes here. It's dwarfed by everything that we produce here. But Nicaragua gets the money from us buying their sugar.
Right.
Now, they could eliminate that tariff if they allowed us to send to their company the sugar that we produce.
Sure.
The same thing is going to happen with the Argentinian beef. If they allow us, our beef producers, to send them beef and not charge the tariffs, then don't be surprised if they're allowed to send us their beef and we won't charge them very much of a tariff either.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. I suspect, this is my suspicion, but I'm sure your audience is very well versed in research, how much of Argentinians' total beef production gets sent to the United States, and then what percentage of our total beef production is that once it hits our border. And I'm sure that it's not as large. I'm sure we're not importing 50% of all the beef that we're using.
True.
And granted, our cattlemen, our cattle ranchers have had a tough time these last 3 or 4 years, what with droughts and heat and extreme cold and floods and yada, yada, on. And they've lost or culled a large portion of their herds. And then it takes 2 to 3 years to replenish those herds. We're still exporting, I don't know, something like $120 billion worth of beef to overseas, to other places. I mean, but that's because some of the rules and regulations for keeping it here make it more expensive. They can sell it overseas, even with the tariffs going as an import overseas. Even with that, they can make more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too afraid of Argentinian beef coming in. I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of trade going around the world, but the reason that President Trump was tariff this and tariff that was he wants our people to be able to produce here and send it overseas with no tariffs at all. He wants to level the playing field, make it a level playing field across the world for American goods. Now, he did say, and he said often, and it seems silly to me to have to repeat it, but if we have car companies like Stellantis who bought out Chrysler and then moved it to Mexico, and now Stellantis is saying, hey, we're going to come back. I think they're coming back to Indiana, maybe, to build cars here. Then they're not going to pay a tariff if they build the car here. And in addition to not paying a tariff because they won't be importing cars, they'll also be hiring real live humans to work in their car plants, which means let's go middle class.
Income goes up. People can afford things more.
Right.
Jobs are created, subsidiary jobs off of that.
Right. And then wind that all in with no income tax, a gold silverback currency, and we'll all be, if he can make this happen by our 250th birthday, we'll be partying until the cows come home. We'll be partying for a year. I'll have to buy a keg of beer just to keep up.
And you'll be able to afford the keg. That's the best part about it.
The keg will be real cheap.
Yeah, real cheap. Real cheap indeed.
And here's the other thing that a lot of people, they actually haven't gotten that far in their thought process. If you have a gold and silverback currency, there's no inflation. Zero.
Yeah.
Nothing. Because Congress can't, well, first of all, the federal government will be being paid by the tariffs, which means we're not printing any money. We're not printing any fiat currency. So there's no inflation.
Yep.
It's a win-win-win.
Absolutely.
And I keep saying, well, hurry up, damn it.
Exactly. Get on with it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Now, there's one last question that I have as we start to bring this train to the station. And I mentioned a moment ago, the Federal Reserve was complaining about this, that, or the other. Well, let's talk about one of your favorite people, Jerome Powell.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I think I know the answer to my own question, but you know what? I want to hear this from an economist.
All right.
I do not understand. The Fed has one supposed stated mission, and that is to control monetary policy in such a way that I could be wrong. I can't. Their mission is.
You want me to tell you what their mission is? Their mission is to have low inflation and high employment. Now, those are two missions. So market stability, those are two missions that they have never, ever, ever been able to fulfill.
Now, here's the thing that as I sit on my front porch and I read the news and look at the news, I'm sitting there going, huh? The Federal Reserve had not a problem, one, dropping interest rates in 2024, heading into the eve of a federal election. Okay. Matter of fact, I want to say they did at least 2 rate cuts that I remember. At least 2. Maybe there was a third. I could be wrong, but 2 for sure. Donald Trump gets elected, and you couldn't get Jerome Powell to budge until just recently. Because I mean, everybody was screaming, "Hey, the inflation numbers keep coming out. There's no inflation. The tariffs aren't causing inflation. Why aren't you guys cutting the interest rates?" And I guess that's my question to you, as somebody who watches this sort of thing way more closely than other people. What is it with Jerome Powell and his absolute adamant refusal to touch interest rates? Because many people are making the argument, if he were to actually do, let's say, a 200 basis point cut, which is 2%, okay, if the Fed reserve rate were cut to 2%, or by 2%, excuse me, if it's cut by 2%, you give that a certain amount of time after the cut takes place, and this economy just kicks in good, because at that point, money's flowing again through the banks. People are getting loans. People are paying off loans. Loans are cheaper to manage. People got more money in their pockets. Why is it that Powell, now, like I said, I think I know my own answer, but why is Powell so adamant that he will not touch rates?
So when Jerome Powell lowers the federal funds rate, that's the interest rate that banks are required to charge each other to borrow money from each other.
Right.
And which means that if he lowers the federal funds rate, banks don't charge each other as much interest to borrow money from each other, which means also they will lower the interest rates that they're charging you to borrow money from them. It's a trickle down thing. The federal funds rate comes down. Banks then lower the interest rates that they're going to charge you to borrow money for cars or homes or whatever. But when the Federal Reserve lowers the interest rates, it has the knock-on effect of increasing the money supply, which makes it more worthless. So what if, I'm going to just posit a what if. Okay. What if Jerome Powell is actually working with President Trump to not lower the interest rates because they don't want to produce more money in the system going sloshing around the economy, making the Federal Reserve note even more worthless than it already is, which would drive up the gold prices to $10,000. What if Jerome Powell, President Trump said that stiff over at the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. What if Jerome Powell is really working with President Trump to not screw up so that the Federal Reserve note keeps its almost worthless value? Because if he lowers the interest rate, so what I've heard is they want him to lower the interest rates on the federal funds rate, but then keep the 10-year Treasury rate high. Well, maybe that's another fake market, right? Mm-hmm. We always used to be told in economics classes, macro classes, that the 10-year Treasury rate is a result of demand and supply of 10-year Treasuries. But what if someone's sitting over, another computer jockey over in Richmond or over in DC, and someone says, hey, make the 10-year Treasury 4.2%. Maybe it's not a free market. Maybe it's just as fake as the gold and silver markets from the LBMA. Maybe it's not time yet for people to see that that's a fake market. What if all the millions of people President Trump is escorting out of the country, keep in mind that on November 1st, Section 8 housing payments are going to be curtailed so that people who are on Section 8 can only be on Section 8 for a certain amount of time.
Right.
So what if combining all the people who are leaving the country and Section 8 is being curtailed, what's going to happen to the housing supply? If you have a lot of empty homes because illegals are leaving,
the price is going to drop.
Right?
Yeah.
The prices. What do you need interest rates to go down if the housing market caves 50% like it did in 2008? I mean, oh my God, we could pick up houses for 10 cents on the dollar in 2011. What do you need a lowering of interest rates if the housing market goes whoosh?
Yep.
Because lots of illegals are being escorted out of the country, and now who are landlords going to rent to? What about all those millions of homes that BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street have bought? What if they all of a sudden figure out, oh my God, we're not renting these houses out. We got to get rid of them. Sell. Do you need a lowering of interest rates if the supply of houses on the market increases? You don't. You don't need that.
So go ahead.
And people will figure out, well, what the hell do we need a Federal Reserve for? They're useless. Hey, U.S. Treasury, knock, knock, knock.
Yeah.
How about you do your job?
Yeah.
Like you were designed to in the Constitution. I mean, I'm just asking a bunch of stupid what if questions, but I see stuff out there that, given my normal assumptions, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I have to, we use the scientific method. We start out with our assumptions. We make a hypothesis. We test the hypothesis. If the test reveals that my assumptions and my hypothesis and my test gives me an answer that's really close to reality, that's a good model. If it gives me an answer that's far away from reality, that's a shit model. Go back and look at your assumptions. And the assumptions that we have been taught in macroeconomics are not comporting with what I'm seeing going on out there. So I have to go back and say, well, let's see. How did we get macroeconomics? Oh, that's right. That was John Maynard Keynes, that bastard from England who, that's right. He made all his money in the English stock market and then he wrecked it on purpose.
Yeah.
And then he wrote macroeconomics. What if that's just fake too?
Yeah, and unfortunately, a whole presidency in the 30s bought off on everything Keynes told them. They bought it hook, line, and sinker, and now we're still feeling the effects of it to this day.
Right. And so what I'm saying is, what if Jerome Powell is just working with President Trump? Back channels.
It would make sense. Because you're right. If they lower the interest rates, the dollar becomes even less valuable than what it is right now. Even
more worthless than the price of gold. Doesn't matter what the computer jockey and the LBMA sets it at. The spot price of gold would zoom up to 5,000 so fast it'd make your head spin.
Yeah.
And the price of silver would be at $150. And if President Trump's plan is to have people have gold and silver and then have a gold and silver backed currency, he doesn't want the price of silver going to $150. He wants it to stay at 48. Dude, make the price 48.
And that way people can have it in their hands. So
right.
All right.
And eventually it's going to go up, but I really don't think that President Trump is out to fuck over the American people. I really don't. I haven't. All of the things I've seen him do have been for the benefit of us. And I will grant you that some things have been taking a little bit longer to roll out than I would like. But that's what hobbies are for. Keep your mind busy while all the shit's happening out there.
Exactly.
But I have no control over.
Exactly. And it's absolutely fun to watch. So I want to thank you for stopping by tonight, because like I said, these things have been going on. And I'm like, we got to get her back on here to talk about this, because some things are making sense. Some things are like, yeah, but when's the kick come in? Because the kick hasn't happened yet. We've done something, and the wave of the event is not being felt yet. So I want to thank you absolutely for stopping by and talking with us. And again, apologies for my not pushing the right button at the start. We'd have had this conversation way sooner. If people are wanting to find,
make a note to yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of notes that are starting to pile up on my new computer. But if people, I saw where WWG1 was very gracious to put this up here. So if people want to follow your work, either watch you in the classroom or listen to other lectures or previous media appearances, where can they go and how can they find you?
Well, I put my website, which is linksync.com. That's lync-sync.com. I put it next to my name. And at the top of my homepage are Robin's radio interviews. And that's where I've been guests on your show, and quite frankly, and Dr. Dave Janda, and Dangerous Info and American Education FM, all very gracious people who have invited me on their shows over the years. And so Robin's radio interviews. Then I have my In the Classroom link, and that's all of my economics courses, Principles of Micro and Principles of Macro. And I think I have Money in Banking in there too. And then I have a link for Freedom Lectures, and that's my Atlas Shrugged class. That's my Comparative Economic Systems class. That's really where the fun is at, because that I call it the Atlas Shrugged class, because we spend 3 weeks examining Ayn Rand's book Atlas Shrugged, and we explore the ideas of capitalism and communism, free markets, independence, unalienable rights, and so forth. And so the website is free for everyone to use. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to make an account. You just click on it and listen as many times as you want. It's sort of our gift to the universe, because it's been so generous to us.
Well, absolutely. And you've been very generous with this audience tonight. I want to thank you as always. So hang on a second. We'll say some proper goodbyes backstage. Folks, I want to thank you for being here with us tonight for Chatting on the Porch with Dr. Robin McCutcheon. I will be back this tomorrow, 7 p.m. for the Thursday night newsroom. We'll be taking a look at the news, giving our views, and trying to make sense out of this crazy thing we call life. But in the meanwhile, stop back by, follow Dr. McCutcheon's work. I will leave this up here for a moment or two if you want to like snap a picture or what have you. But please do check out her work. And again, Dr. McCutcheon, thank you so much for stopping by. We genuinely do appreciate it. Folks, plan on being back here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And in the meanwhile, you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. Love you guys very much, and we'll catch up with you later. Ta-ta.